If you're rated over 1200 or you are not a first-hand player, you know of the existence of certain magic formulas that allow you to take an edge over your opponent, an advantage. If you're new, well, I'm here for this, and these magic formulas are called openings. Today, we're going to see the Ruy Lopez opening and some main lines of the starting move e4. The most common move you can choose between all of the 20 starting moves is e4, soon followed by d4, c4, g3 and knight f3. I say 20 because in the first move you can choose between this for all of the pawns and this for both knights. This is the beauty of this game. Imagine if at the starting position you have 20 moves available. How many different positions and how many different games can happen? As I said, the most common move is e4, soon followed by e5, and in this way we're going into an open game, that's how it's called. Or something else like this. This is the Norwegian Defence, the starting move for this line. And in this case, we're going into a what's called semi-open game. But let's go back to e4, e5. The e4 starting move is also called the king's pawn opening. And what I will be analyzing today is the Ruy Lopez opening and some other variations. So after the opponent played e5, you can play knight f3. Knight f3 is most of the times followed by knight c6, defending this pawn from this. And playing bishop b5, we go into a Ruy Lopez opening. This opening takes its name from a 16th century Spanish priest that deeply analyzed it for the first time, but there are some proofs that it's been played before. It is also called Spanish opening. So the main idea here is to kill this knight to take this pawn. And the most played moves here by black are this or this, going into a Morphy Defence. Let's suppose the opponent plays a6. You take the knight and you can take with this pawn or this pawn. The meaning of this opening is to spoil black's position, but the main line says that if you take with the d pawn and this pawn gets taken, you can go with queen on d4, forking both the knight and the pawn. And when the knight has necessarily to go back here, you take the pawn giving check. So there is no actual threat. Then you defend with the queen, and most likely this exchange will happen. The main advantage here is that you have forced the opponent's king to move, and now the white position is spoiled and he has to do some moves instead of castling, so he's losing time. Going back to the Morphy Defence, so a6. With a6, the bishop can choose between going back and take the knight. And in this way we go into the exchange variation. Otherwise, we go back and then black can break the pin to the queenside knight by pushing this pawn on b5. And at this point has to go here on b3. In this position you have to be careful and not to fall into the Noah's Ark trap. That's how it's called, where the knight goes somewhere else and this pawn is pushed twice to c4, and now the bishop cannot go anywhere, is trapped. And that's how you actually lose a bishop. After a6, as we were saying, the most common continuation is bishop a4 that takes us in the close defense after knight f6, castle and bishop e7. Or we can go, as we said before, into the exchange variation. The following is this, spoiling the black position, and for white, as we've seen, this is not the best move, but instead is d4, forcing black to take with this pawn, taking control of all of the center with queen d4. Now if he takes, you take with knight and you still have control of the center. Another way of playing this position is with delay exchange deferred, that is bishop a4, knight f6, castle, bishop e7, and then you take. There is another continuation that is called the Norwegian Defence that goes like this: Bishop a4, b5, Bishop b3, and then Knight a5. But this is considered too time consuming for black. At this point, the usual continuation is castle d6, d4, you take the bishop. Another thing that can happen instead of going for castling is sacrificing this bishop in order to let the king out and take with check. But this is not working quite well for white, because with proper play, black can consolidate his advantage and just win. Last and least, I'd say, because it is considered dubious, is the main line called the Moller Defence that goes like a6, bishop a4, knight f6, castle, bishop c5. This particular opening was played a few times by Alekhine, and as I said, is not the best main line, but I think it's better to know it than don't anyway. These are the best lines after bishop e5 if your opponent plays in a certain way. As I said, there is a variety of different situations and positions, but in these cases they allow you to take an edge over your opponent. Then the main problem is not to blunder, but that is up to you.